Diablo 4 releases today, and I was like, man, what would be a good video for it? And I kind of came to the conclusion that everything I would have wanted to know as a player would be really helpful in a video to others that are just starting out. And so that's what this is. Everything that you need to know about Diablo 4 when you're first starting. This is kind of level 1 to 50, all right? It's like the whole campaign. I'm not going to go over the whole campaign, but things that will help you throughout the whole campaign. Where to find your legendaries or the Codex powers, how to upgrade your items, make your overall build better, everything, you know? Along with that, in the description, there is a link to the Diablo 4 interactive map, which is very, very helpful in saving you time on helping find things, or like your dungeons or your Lilith altars, whatever it might be. Very, very helpful. I recommend you use that. If you enjoy the video or it's helpful to you, feel free to subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you enjoy. Firstly, where do you get your best loot? Now, I have all legendaries now, and most of mine are sacred legendaries. You can't get access to sacred yet. When you first start off, you're on world tier 1 and 2. As you progress, you're going to unlock Nightmare and Torment, which will get you better items and higher tier item level. In general, as you go through the campaign, which is what you're going to want to prioritize first, because going through the campaign will unlock some things for you, and I'll get to that in a second, you're looking at eye level gear. So sacred legendaries at my level are really good if they're around the 700 range. 682, 50, this is an old one, for example, like old level 45, it's a 565. So if I could get a similar chest at a higher eye level, that would possibly roll better stats. They have a larger percentage. And as you can see, like a 3.8% damage is the bottom roll of damage. And you can turn that on in your settings by going under Options, Gameplay, and turn on Advanced Tooltip Information. It'll give you an idea on whether or not you got a good roll or a bad roll on your gear. Now, speaking of legendaries, early on, you're probably not going to have that many, but there is a solution to that, and that is the Codex of Powers. Now, a Codex of Power, for example, is when you clear a dungeon, as the one I haven't cleared yet. Here's a good example. The reward says, the reward on first completion will unlock the Stormclaw aspect, which is a legendary affix that gives you critical strikes with Shred that deal extra damage as lightning damage. So that's a druid one, right? So if you complete this dungeon, you'll unlock that legendary power. Well, to put that legendary power on your item, you have to go over to the Occultist. Inside of Kyovashad, it has this emblem on any city. There's a few cities that have her. And you go into the Occultist, and you can pick a yellow and put it in here. Go to Codex of Powers, and you can put whatever one you want on there. Now, granted, this is a legendary affix, and it does cost money and resources to put it onto a weapon, but obviously it's kind of helpful to upgrade weapons, especially with legendary affixes that are ideal to your build. Now, you do not unlock the Occultist to level 25, so don't worry about it right off the rip, but as you get to 25, I would highly recommend you look to see which dungeons are really beneficial for your build, and go knock out 1 or 2 of them if you can, and then put those aspects onto your weapons. Or actually, it's more ideal to put them on rings and amulets because those last longer typically. As you raise your item level, you're going to replace your armor and your weapons more often. So rings and amulets are typically better for the really important affixes. That way you don't waste too many materials upgrading things. Now, also with this Occultist, you can extract aspects. So if there was a legendary aspect I wanted to extract, like I wanted this Shadow Step one, I could take it off and imprint it onto a new one. So when you use a Codex, it is basically a legendary affix that you would find on a weapon, but it's guaranteed the lowest roll. So you can find better rolls of that. Now, you don't always want to use them as you level up. Sometimes you want to save them for max level because it's a perfect roll. But otherwise, if you have one that you can't find, because not all legendary aspects and powers are found in dungeons. Some are. This one, for example, is not. It's only found off of items. Then you want to make sure that you save those. Ultimately, as well, as you level up, of course, you can find items that you might want to re-roll. So let's say this ring, for example, I don't really care about regen while not damaged, right? I can put the ring in and select that and re-roll it. Now, this will take money and resources, and so you have to continually salvage things while you're playing and sell things depending on what your resources are looking like and how much gold you have. But it will make your build a little bit more optimized and help you out while you're doing bosses and just generally leveling up. I wouldn't recommend overdoing it on items that are, pretty low level. You will find replacements, trust me. And lastly, as you level up as well, you can upgrade your items. Now, you can upgrade your gear with the blacksmith here, and you can upgrade your rings with the jeweler, or necklace, sorry. Now, not everything is worth upgrading to maximum. It really isn't, right? So I would recommend, if you have something that's pretty decent, you can upgrade it twice and it's pretty cheap. Even the third time is pretty cheap, but I'm trying to save veiled crystals and I will find something better than this chest armor. So it's pretty helpful. Again, if you want to decide, or you're trying to decide which one to upgrade or which thing to add a legendary affix on, you can kind of look at your item levels. That's usually an indication of what you're finding. So for example, at level 58, and I'm level world tier 3, a lot of the sacred items I find are among like 680s to 700 in the top tier. So my helmet, 682, my weapon, 715, 696. But a low tier sacred, 669, 641, that's really low for a sacred, right? Those are maybe not worth relying on too heavily unless it's a perfect roll. Because the higher the item level, the better the gear is. Not only with armor value, which is really important to keeping you alive, but also with the min-max roll of something. The next thing that's pretty important to know while you're playing is it worth exploring? First off, for fun value, sure. But if you're trying to be optimal, it's not really worth doing side missions or trying to get your renown up super far. And what is renown, you may ask? If you hit your map and then you look at the view rewards key, you get a lot of very good, valuable things here. Multiple skill points, right? And Paragon points by the end. These are very, very, very helpful. You do not need to do everything in the zone to unlock all these, but I would recommend you at least click the Altars of Lilith while you go by them, along with clear the strongholds. Those are probably the biggest value you get for renown. And as you earn your renown, you get extra skill points. It's definitely worth trying to get your extra skill points while you can in the region, but typically if you just play the game and try to get to the campaign relatively quickly, you're going to unlock your mount after Act 3, and that will help you kind of do that a little bit faster. Also, it's not a lot of XP doing side missions early on. It's a little bit more experience when you go into world tier 3 or 4. So you get more experience for doing the side missions later on. It's a bit more worth your time, along with the fact that you're trying to unlock and get new items at that level that are pretty helpful, even when they're yellows, because they're sacred yellows, right? So I would recommend, like I said, click the altars while you can as you go by them. That wouldn't go out of your way too far. And make sure you clear your strongholds. The strongholds are the easy to value because it's like plus 100 renown. It might take you 10 minutes. So it's pretty valuable for an extra skill point, right? Now, while you're leveling up and going through the game, there is one important thing that you want to make sure you do, and that is upgrade your healing potions as you go along. You can talk to the alchemist and upgrade them here. You can also craft other elixirs, and these other elixirs might not seem that great, but every elixir you craft will also give you a bonus of 5% experience per hour. So I always craft weak iron barb elixirs because I have a lot of those materials typically, and I will constantly drink these as I play the game to give myself an extra 5% XP. It's not a huge amount, but it's something. And it costs me basically nothing because you get materials as you do quests anyway. And lastly, there's one more thing I wanted to cover. I don't see one right now down here, but it doesn't really show on the map unless you go near it. We'll go there right now. So as you play the game, you're going to find these events that are marked by these circles on the map. You won't see them unless you're nearby them. Some of these events are worth doing. Not all of them, though. This is, for example, one of the annoying ones where you have to kind of just watch this girl and walk within her circle, and you have to wait the whole time out. And it really doesn't spawn too many mobs for you to kill, unfortunately. Now, the ones that do spawn a lot of mobs, like the Jar of Souls, or killing things within the allotted areas, like these little circles that spawns, those are pretty valuable. It's mainly because a lot of the XP you get from doing these is not from the completion of it, but from the mobs that you killed during it. And so you kind of have to roll the ones that you want to be doing that are going to give you optimal experience on the mobs that you kill and on the completion of it. But when you complete these, you're going to be able to use the obols that you get from it and roll for items in town or gamble for them, which is helpful if you're sometimes trying to do like targeted farms of like a specific item. And I'll show you that in 1 second. So once you complete the event, a chest will pop up, you'll get some obols out of it, and you'll get a few pieces of gear. They can be decent or bad. Legendaries can drop from it, yellows can drop from it, it could just be blues. But sometimes it's helpful to do them early on because you just need to fill out your character with some blues or yellows. But otherwise, you can use the obols that you get to come down to the curiosity vendor, which is the bag on the map, you know, the little bag icon. And you can talk to them and you can look and see what they're trying to sell. And you can look to see what your worst piece of gear is. Mine were like chests, and I could buy a chest from her. Now, I'm not going to do that because she's only selling pants right now that with the sacred possibility. But if she was selling chests, I would buy them. And, you know, you can try to just get a good piece of gear. But I wouldn't roll too many of them because they are more useful later on as you're higher level and trying to get gear. Not insanely useful, just it's not, you know, low level stuff is replaced quickly. That's just something to keep in mind. You will replace things fast. And you'll have to constantly put legendary affixes onto things from the Codex and keep going and going and going. Do not burn a really good rolled affix, like a legendary affix, on a low-level piece of gear. You will replace it. I think that's just about everything you need to know. Knock out the campaign, get your mount after Act 3, and you can blow through a lot of the stuff a little bit quicker because it's a bit faster if you want to do some renown then, and have some fun with the game. Best of luck. Once you clear World Tier 1 or World Tier 2, whether you beat the game either one, you can do whatever, you'll have to do your capstone dungeon to enter World Tier 3. And simultaneously, you'll have to do another capstone dungeon to enter World Tier 4 for ancestral gear. You will not be able to get unique gear until you're in World Tier 3, though. It just doesn't drop, okay? So, and that is obviously listed here as well. You can see that this stuff is going to happen. Hell Tides are very good for XP. Tree of Whispers is good for XP. That's more late game stuff. You won't have to worry about it now. But enjoy the game. I've had a lot of fun with it, and hopefully I don't die on my hardcore, but I'll be playing softcore too. It's just fun to play. Thanks for watching, though. I hope the video was helpful. If it was, feel free to like and or subscribe. If you don't want to, it's all good. I appreciate you watching either way. And if you have additional questions, leave a comment. I'll try to answer them in the comments. And I hope you guys enjoyed Diablo 4. It's been a lot of fun so far for me.